welcome to Warhammer Age of Sigmar Stormbringer, our handy video guide to the first 5 issues of your Stormbringer magazine subscription. I'm Lizzie.
And my name's Alex. We're here to help you take your first steps into the mortal realms, a fantasy world of war, magic, and mighty heroes. Stormbringer magazine is your gateway to Warhammer Age of Sigmar, the incredible hobby where you collect, build, paint and play with highly detailed miniatures representing factions vying for control of the mortal realms.
Throughout this collection, you'll amass 2 vast armies hailing from across the realms, along with paints, hobby tools and plenty of scenery to battle around. One force is from the Grand Alliance of Order, paragons of selfless service and peaceful civilization, led by the Stormcast Eternals, noble souls of fallen heroes reforged into immortal warriors.
While the cunning Orruks lead an army from the Grand Alliance of Destruction, willful desecrators who want to consume the world in a frenzy of violence. The swamp-dwelling Cruel Boys may not be the largest Orruks around, but they more than make up for it with cunning and malice.
Join us over the next few weeks as we take you through 5 videos packed with useful information to start your collection. You'll learn how to play Warhammer Age of Sigmar with simple, step-by-step instructions, building up your skills over a series of exciting story-based missions, and you'll start to assemble and paint your miniatures with the tools provided. I'll be fighting for order and justice with the Stormcast Eternals.
Well, I'll be doing everything I can to ruin their day with the Cruel Boys, starting with a fiendish killer boss in issue 1. He'll muster a mob of 10 Gutripper spearmen in issue 2 and grow into a massive force of destruction over the course of the series.
Likewise, I'll be starting issue 1 with a mystical Knight Arcanum, a powerful warrior mage who conjures storms of magical lightning and hail. She'll be joined by a band of sturdy Vindictors in issue 3, and in issue 5, a Praetor Prime, a totally new model. We'll be using the guides in the magazine to lead you through building and painting your miniatures.
You'll also find extensive background about the world of Warhammer Age of Sigmar in your magazines, as well as lore about all the armies that battle for the fate of the mortal realms. Let's have a quick look at that now. It is a time of turmoil. Mortals, monsters and gods battle across 8 elemental worlds known as the mortal realms. War has raged since time immemorial as the forces of order, chaos, death and destruction vie for nothing less than control of reality itself.
The dark gods of chaos had won, or so they thought. They had conquered the realms, forcing the god king Sigmar, master of storms and patron of mankind, into hiding in Azir, the realm of heavens. But Sigmar has only been biding his time, and now he has unleashed his golden legions, instructing them to found mighty fortress cities in the lands despoiled by chaos. Defending these bastions against evil are Sigmar's finest warriors, the Stormcast Eternals. These immortal heroes are suffused with the power of the storm, standing taller and stronger than mortal humans, clad in gleaming armour and wielding weapons that course with lightning. Alongside them stands a mighty alliance of beings, from the vengeful forest spirits of the Sylvaneth to the industrious Dwarden of the Caradron Overlords. You'll learn much more about them in future issues.
But what if you'd rather have a good old-fashioned brawl instead of faffing around with laws and society? The Cruel Boys are the faction for you, spilling from the swamps in a green tide of raw, unbridled destruction. Many types of Orruk exist throughout the mortal realms, but the Cruel Boys are the most cunning, and their rise is known as the Era of the Beast. You'll learn more about them during the Stormbringer series, but for now, let's look at a detailed character profile for the killer boss and his Stabgrot companion.
As well as one for the Knight Arcanum. Speaking of which, it's time we met our heroes in the flesh, or plastic, and learned how to build their awesome miniatures. We'll start with the Knight Arcanum. You'll find the parts for this model attached to a plastic frame, which is called a sprue. Before we can start assembling the miniature, we'll need to cut them out with a pair of modelling clippers. If you've already subscribed, you'll receive a pair as one of your welcome gifts. To cut the part out, take a firm grip on your clippers with one hand, place the pointed tip against the piece where it meets the sprue, and give it a firm squeeze. The clippers are sharp, so make sure not to catch your fingers as they close. Be careful not to snip off any of the pegs that will attach your model together, such as the ones on the Knight Arcanum's feet or neck. We're ready to follow the magazine's step-by-step guide to assemble the miniature. First, find the back of the Knight Arcanum's body and attach the left arm by firmly pressing the peg into the hole, while taking care to avoid too much pressure on thin areas like the staff and sleeves, as this may cause the plastic to bend and break. You will have the choice of 2 heads to attach in the next stage, but for the purposes of this guide, we're going to pick the one with their face and hair uncovered. Attach the remaining leg, then secure all of the pieces together by joining the front and back of the body until the components are flush. Attach the arm, shoulder, buck and scabbard by finding their respective holes and pushing the components into the body, while separately slotting component 4, the base details, into one of the large hexagonal holes on the model's round base. Either of the 2 larger bases here is fine, as they are both the same size. Finally, press the complete miniature into the base, taking care not to put too much pressure on the model's ankles to avoid bends and breaks. With your Knight Arcanum built, she's now ready for battle. So let's check in with Alex to find out how he's getting on.
Like the Knight Arcanum, the killer boss is designed to be built quickly and easily, coming together in just 4 main parts. When clipping him from the sprue, be careful not to press too hard on his spikes or the reeds on his base, as these are very fragile. Just take your time, carefully cutting thinner pieces first. Push all 3 pieces of the killer boss's body together, making sure there are no gaps, before attaching him to the base, made from components 4, 5 and 6. Lastly, equip him with the scare shield found in his sprue, as we won't be using the model's flail in this series. The stab grot can be assembled in much the same way, making sure to combine both halves of his body before attaching the head and shield. His base has no detailed parts of its own, so simply slot the long peg attached to his feet into the corresponding gap in the small base. You'll also find an introduction to painting your miniatures in this issue, and we'll be taking you through all of that in issue 4, which is when you'll receive your first paints and a brush. For now, let's get these miniatures onto the battlefield for their first fight.
Games of Warhammer Age of Sigmar are clashes between all-powerful generals, that's you, and the armies they command. Units move, cast devastating magic spells, shoot ranged weapons, and fight in deadly hand-to-hand combat. This is all covered by a set of easy-to-learn rules, requiring dice and a ruler.
Battles can be any size, from one-on-one duels like the one we'll play today, to epic clashes involving hundreds of miniatures. For this battle plan, you'll need your Knight Arcanum, your killer boss, the battle mat, and some 6-sided dice, commonly known as D6, all included with this issue. Don't worry about the stab grot, he's cheering his boss on from the sidelines. Most importantly, you'll also need a friend, like Lizzie. You can also use the wound markers printed inside the back cover of this magazine to track the damage your miniatures will take. Just cut them out, and you're ready to go.
This first battle, Duel of Champions, uses simplified rules to introduce basic concepts, such as moving into combat and making attack rolls. It's the first in a series of narrative missions that takes place throughout the Stormbringer series, telling the story of an escalating clash between the forces of order and destruction as your collection grows.
Here, the Knight Arcanum is searching a lost ruin for ancient knowledge when she's ambushed by my devious killer boss. Will he manage to strike down Sigmar's champion, or will he pay the price for his hubris? Let's find out. First, lay your battle mat out on a flat surface, and place the miniatures in the circles shown on the deployment map. Then, take it in turns to move the models into the centre circle. You'll be able to move your models freely in future games, but for now, they charge right into range of each other and start swinging.
Even though she's been caught unawares, my Knight Arcanum has kept her footing and taken the first action. She takes 3 mighty swings at her attacker, so I roll 3d6. And then I collect any that score 3 or higher. These are the attacks that have managed to land a hit on the slippery killer boss. Pick up the dice that have successfully hit and roll them again. This time we're trying to find out how many of those hits have struck hard enough to cause a wound. So we're looking for rolls of 4 or more. Looks like I managed to get 2 out of 3, not bad at all. For each successful wound, place a wound marker next to the killer boss. Then it's his turn to strike.
My killer boss may not have the power of the storm, but he's a wily fighter and gets to make 3 attacks of his own. He swings his boss hacker at the Stormcast Eternal, but must be off balance, as he only hits with 1. Luckily, his 1 successful hit manages to wound, causing 1 point of damage to the Knight Arcanum. With his turn over, start again from the order player's attacks, and repeat these steps until 1 model has 6 wound markers next to them. That means they've succumbed to their injuries, and the game is over.
Congratulations on your first game of Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Don't forget to turn the page and see what happens when your fighter wins, as this confrontation is only the beginning of a wider conflict. Join us again in the next issue when a band of snarling cruel boy gut rippers join the fray, and we learn how models fight as part of a unit.
We're also learning more about the mortal realms, finding out who and what make their homes in these magical worlds. We'll meet some of the other factions fighting for the grand alliances of order and destruction.
Don't miss an issue of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Stormbringer by subscribing to the collection. You'll receive 4 issues every month, packed with models, paints and more. There are loads of free gifts, starting with a modelling set, including the clippers we used earlier.
Find out how to subscribe at warhammerstormbringer.com. Head there now to have a look, and we'll see you for part 2 of our video series.